Alex here from the Football Guys, here to talk about why Zach Moss could be a league winner for you in fantasy football. And I think that he is a lot more overlooked than people realize right now. And I think a lot of people think that maybe it's Deion Jackson or maybe that, Zach Moss doesn't have great matchups, but that's why we are here to break that down this week. First of all, after Jonathan Taylor went down last week, Zach Moss played 75% of the second half in overtime snaps for the Colts. He took over as the lead running back. And, earlier in the season, obviously, it was the Deion Jackson show. He was the guy that was catching passes. He was the guy running in between the tackles right after they had gotten Zach Moss. But it seems like at this point, Zach Moss is the guy actually that has taken over for the Colts in their backfield, which says to me that if he's the guy that's getting more snaps now when it used to be Deion Jackson, he has fully supplanted him and he should be the starting running back this week. But he also has a really wonderful matchup in the fantasy football semifinals playing against the Chargers, who have given up an NFL high 5.5 yards per carry. And that's going to be the key to beating the Chargers this week for the Colts, is going to be running the ball in between the tackles, where that's the Chargers' biggest weakness at this point. They've also given up the fifth most rushing touchdowns in the NFL this year at 12. And if Zach Moss is going to be the grinder, he's going to be the team playing against the team that gives up the most yards per carry and the fifth most touchdowns. This is a perfect game script for Zach Moss. But also, like I mentioned, beyond Deion Jackson being the starter and Moss taking over, they have a matchup great this week against the Chargers, but they also have a really great matchup next week against the Giants. The Giants have given up the 11th most fantasy points to running backs, and this year the Colts are averaging over 26 rush attempts per game. And a lot of that with Jonathan Taylor banged up, Jonathan Taylor missing games, and they're still averaging over 26 rush attempts per game. And it's not like a lot of the teams above them, like Chicago and Philadelphia, are teams that have running quarterbacks that are just higher in rush attempts because they have running quarterbacks. But the Colts as a team are averaging over 26 rush attempts with Matt Ryan barely running the ball at all. And I think beyond that, I think another thing that's being overlooked with Zach Moss is the fact that people are arguing, okay, well, Deion Jackson's the pass-catching running back. And last week, it wasn't really any running back catching passes. I mean, Zach Moss had one target and Deion Jackson had one target. Deion Jackson just happened to catch his one target on the 1 yard line for a receiving touchdown. But otherwise, it was the Zach Moss show, who had 24 carries and a target last week. And ultimately, when the game was on the line for them, fortunately or unfortunately, Zach Moss was the guy in the game they were trying to ice the lead with. I think that Zach Moss is going to be the clear number one starter for this week and could be a league winner, obviously, because of his two great matchups back-to-back over the next couple weeks, but also because Deion Jackson has been supplanted as the running back behind Jonathan Taylor. I think Zach Moss has taken over this role, and he is going to keep it going forward. But that is all. But don't forget to keep enjoying the Football Guys content coming each and every single day. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tell us whether or not you believe that Deion Jackson is now the backup to Zach Moss.